Forza Horizon 6 might be one of the best looking racing games we've ever had. So today, we are benchmarking Forza Horizon 6 using Ryzen 7800X 3D, RTX 4070 Ti Super, and 32GB DDR5 6000MHz RAM across multiple graphics presets. All tests were recorded during actual gameplay sessions, using identical driving routes whenever possible. So let's just get into it. Starting with absolute maxed out experience, extreme settings, ray tracing enabled, and DLAA. Visually, this looks incredible. Reflections are extremely detailed, lighting quality feels almost photorealistic, and environmental density is packed with detail. But performance-wise, this is also the most demanding configuration in the benchmark. GPU utilization remains consistently high, and frame rates can dip during dense traffic or in the middle of the Tokyo. Still, the image clarity with DLAA is excellent. We got 58 FPS average and 39 FPS 1% low. Dropping down to ultra settings while keeping ray tracing enabled, performance becomes noticeably smoother. What's interesting is how difficult it becomes to notice the visual downgrade during actual gameplay. The game still looks stunning, reflections remain impressive, and overall image quality still feels premium. This already feels much more practical for longer gaming sessions. We got 88 FPS average and 55 FPS 1% low. Now moving down to high setting with ray tracing still enabled, this is where performance starts improving significantly. Some shadow quality and environmental detail are reduced, but during gameplay, the visual experience still holds up surprisingly well. At tracing speeds, most of the smaller visual difference become almost impossible to notice. And honestly, this may end up being the best ray tracing configuration for many players. We got 112 FPS average and 68 FPS 1% low. Now, disabling ray tracing completely while keeping extreme settings, and immediately, performance improves substantially from 88 FPS average and 39 FPS 1% low. What surprised me most is how visually impressive the game still looks without ray tracing. The lighting system already does a fantastic job, and the visual atmosphere remains incredibly immersive. During fast gameplay, you honestly stop noticing the lack of ray tracing after a few minutes. We got 108 FPS average and 62 FPS 1% low. Now we got ultra settings without ray tracing, feels extremely balanced overall. Performance becomes consistently smooth, frame pacing feels excellent, and visual quality still remains very high. For players prioritizing smoother gameplay, this is probably one of the best overall presets in the entire benchmark for most mid-range GPU out there. We got 115 FPS average and 66 FPS 1% low. Now switching from DLAA to DLSS quality while keeping extreme settings and ray tracing enabled. And this is where things become really interesting. Image quality remains extremely close to DLAA during gameplay, but performance improves noticeably. We start from 88 FPS to 86 FPS average and from 39 FPS to 55 FPS 1% low. At normal racing speeds, the difference becomes surprisingly difficult to notice. DLSS quality does a very good job preserving image clarity here. And now ultra settings with ray tracing and DLSS quality. Feels like one of the smoothest experience so far. Visual quality still looks fantastic, performance becomes easier to maintain, and overall gameplay responsiveness improves noticeably. These presets feel very close to an ideal balance for high refresh rate gaming with ray tracing enabled. We got 107 FPS average and 71 FPS 1% low. Finally, extreme settings with ray tracing disabled and DLSS quality enabled. This configuration delivers some of the highest performance number in the benchmark, while still maintaining excellent visual quality. And honestly, this might be the most practical setup for high refresh rate gameplay without ray tracing. We got 125 FPS average and 71 FPS 1% low. So how noticeable is DLAA compared to DLSS quality? In static scenes, DLAA still produces slightly cleaner image detail, but during actual gameplay, the visual difference becomes surprisingly small. Meanwhile, DLSS quality provides a very meaningful performance improvement, and for most players, that trade-off is probably worth it. Now comparing extreme and ultra settings using the same DLAA configuration. This comparison is honestly very interesting, because despite the heavier hardware demand, extreme settings don't always look dramatically better during gameplay. Most of the visual differences are subtle, while the performance cost can be much larger, and this is exactly why optimization matters. Forza Horizon 6 is visually incredible, but it's also another example how demanding modern AAA games are becoming. Ray tracing looks impressive, but the performance cost is still significant, and honestly, ultra settings with DLSS quality might already be the smartest balance for most players, while ultra and ray tracing on DLAA would be perfect for 4070 Ti Super at 1440p. And thank you for watching. This is Moxie, and see you on the next one.